If you sometimes feel that your heart has started beating very fast or irregularly, you start breathing heavily, trembling, sweating, and an unjustified feeling of fear or unease takes over. Or you simply feel lost even if there is no real danger, most likely you're having a panic attack. And in this video, you will find out what the causes are, who are the most predisposed, how to act when a panic attack occurs, and what you should do in the long term to overcome this issue. Studies have shown that those most affected by these panic attacks are highly emotional, anxious individuals, especially women. And as triggering factors, there are negative emotions, excessively accumulated in the subconscious, generated by certain abuses and traumas from the past. In the case of wild animals, for example, physical dangers are very frequent. When they feel threatened by a predator, stress hormones increase, heart rate and blood pressure rise, and blood is preferentially directed to the limbs or wings to fight, flee, or fly away from danger. This usually happens for a short period of time and is followed by periods of calm. Fear is their ally in the fight for survival. In our case, as humans, because we no longer frequently face real threats, we lose this instinct, and our ability to control our minds and fear management mechanisms have atrophied. Similarly, for humans, fear is an emotion that helps the body survive, to fight or flee from potential dangers. But we are no longer accustomed to dealing with all challenges, mainly due to the much safer environment we live in today's modern world. We no longer have to fight or flee every day to survive, and fear overwhelms us. The behavior of today's adults is similar to that of frightened children, becoming increasingly fearful and passing this on to future generations. But let's see what the fundamental fears are and how they trigger panic attacks. A major fear is the fear of death or illness. Perhaps you've just learned that someone you know has passed away, and you think that life is ending. You start imagining scenarios: what if I get sick? What if I die? Anticipation begins, and from a minor stimulus, a simple everyday fact, your mind starts developing an entire scenario that it begins to believe in. You're afraid of accidents, terrorism, flying, an incurable disease, or you're afraid of cancer, or even more recently, you're afraid of colds and COVID. Another major fear is the fear of criticism. Clearly, humans cannot live alone. They are social beings and need a community around them. For this reason, the fear of breaking rules arises, not to be isolated or rejected, as you cannot survive on your own. For this reason, the fear of being criticized is fundamental to our being and prevents us from achieving goals that may not conform to standard norms. Maybe in childhood, you weren't encouraged enough, or you were criticized for almost everything you did. It's clear that you've been left with the fear that others' opinions of you are not favorable. Despite the fact that the world can criticize you for all sorts of more or less justified reasons, you need to find a way not to care too much. Then, of course, there's financial stress. In today's modern world, we live in times of the greatest abundance of resources in human history, and very few people actually die of hunger. Nevertheless, the fear of poverty drives some people to struggle hard to accumulate as much money or belongings as possible. They no longer take time to relax and become obsessed with accumulating and prospering. In addition to these, there are other factors that trigger stress, such as the fear of being alone, of being abandoned, or the excessive worry we have for our loved ones, such as children, life partners, siblings, or parents. There's also the excessive consumption of news, especially negative ones, about crimes, terrorism, accidents, or political intrigue and armed conflicts. Or, in the case of anxious or emotional individuals, they associate various other phobias as well: fear of enclosed spaces or crowds, drowning, heights, viruses, insects. All these negative thoughts and fears gradually push you towards suddenly triggering a panic attack. If you identify with any of these scenarios, stay with us, and you'll find out what you can do in these situations. Because every panic attack can be managed, and we will present you with some effective methods to reduce their frequency and intensity and even help you get rid of them. It's a priority to regain self-control. Try to build a positive scenario in your mind. When you feel a panic attack coming on, do the following. Think that it's just a state that passes quickly, maybe 5–10 minutes, especially if you've experienced such episodes before. Redirect your attention elsewhere. Do some mental math calculations or count something. Look closely at an object around you and analyze its details. Look at clouds to see their shapes, or at leaves, flowers, or trees. Direct your attention to anything other than the reason that caused your stress. Then try to breathe slowly and deeply. If you've been breathing very quickly and hyperventilating, you've eliminated a lot of carbon dioxide and you risk alkalosis, feeling dizzy, and fainting. In this case, breathe into a bag a few times until you rebalance the pH and the dizziness passes. Try to do some physical exercises, squats, push-ups, or even run if the space allows, because physical exercise simulates fighting or fleeing best, for which the nervous system has been prepared. In moments of panic, it's very important not to make hasty decisions, not to act impulsively. It's also important that those around you don't get agitated to avoid worsening your condition. It's recommended that after such an episode, you go to a doctor to rule out heart problems, thyroid gland issues, calcium, magnesium, potassium deficiencies, or other health problems. At the same time, it's very important to get rid of negative thoughts and try to manage your emotions better. For this, you need external help. It could be a psychologist or even a spiritual advisor, because doing it alone is quite difficult. Unfortunately, not all psychologists have the vocation, and not all spiritual advisors have the gift. But don't be discouraged and don't give up. In the end, you will surely find the right person with whom you resonate and who can help you get rid of negative emotions and fears that have taken root in your mind. You also need to know that exercise is the best treatment for the mind, as it simulates fighting or fleeing the best. And to make it as effective as possible, it's recommended to engage in various sports activities, as diverse as possible. This way, you won't get bored, and you'll be forced to focus on the present moment. It's good to know that when you're learning new things, you don't have a chance to think about anything else. Another advantage is endorphins, or happiness hormones that act as natural painkillers. These are produced during physical activity and will give you a sense of tranquility and help you sleep better. But don't schedule your workouts very late in the evening. Meditation can also be very helpful. So try to meditate for at least 30 minutes a day. It might seem difficult at first, but over time, you'll see that it's worth the effort. Patience can be trained, and gradually, you'll manage to relax. We get trained in the daily hustle and absorbed by the external world, we forget to give due importance to our inner universe. Nowadays, it's quite easy to find a lot of guided meditation clips online for beginners. Apart from all this, the quality of sleep is very important. You should sleep about 8 hours a night. It's well known that sleep is crucial for rebalancing and regenerating the hormonal and nervous systems. To have a good night's sleep, try to follow a few rules. Spend as much time as possible in the sun or outdoors during the day. Give up television, laptops, or mobile phones 2 hours before bedtime. It's a good idea to read a book or listen to relaxing music. Avoid coffee and caffeinated beverages in the afternoon. Arrange your bedroom to be as cool and dark as possible. That's about it for today's episode. If you liked this content, found it useful, and learned new things, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so that this information reaches a wider audience. I appreciate your support in encouraging this educational project. Until next time, take care of your health.